Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for attending. So I know your time is very precious, and I really respect that. My name is Scott Stevenson, and I now work as a mindset specialist, a deputy head teacher for over 10 years, and I worked with positive behaviour management, consultation, and working with teachers, working with children, and even the senior managers joined in. And now I work all across the world, and I work on the mindset. In a typical 10-day period for me, I'll be working with children of various special educational needs and disabilities. I will be working with Olympic athletes, with war veterans, with victims of physical and emotional abuse. Please take a seat if you can find one. And I work with educators and also educational leaders and government leaders. So my drive for this, I did start a little bit early. How you doing? It's okay. So my drive for this really from the schools and then going full circle, because about 5 years ago, I left the school environment to travel the world and look at different ways, different cultures and specialists around the world. I actually dealt with behaviour to, really it was originally peak performance I was looking for. And this was one of the big changes for me, and particularly it was in public school education, where a guy called Ginnett really decided we are the decisive element in the classroom. And when I work in places now for KHDA, when I come over, I work with the leaders and say, we have to embody this idea of well-being, of calmness, of control. Good afternoon. It's okay.
We entered the wrong room.
It's okay. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. It's okay. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so we're going to start from within. So for today's session, I want you to be very healthily self-focused. In other words, it's okay to be selfish. Just for this next 45 minutes. My aim is that by the time you leave, one, there's a tool that you can use simply for yourself, your family, for children in your classes, and also that you leave here in a better mood, in better well-being than when you came in. That's a tall order, isn't it? So we're going to look at what emotions do to us, how emotions affect our classroom, particularly ours. And so emotions, feelings that activate our survival systems. I guess most people have heard of this, but can you just put your hand up if you've heard of the amygdala? The amygdala. It's a really important thing to know about. That's the thing that reacts to our fight and flight system. It's your children and the classrooms and the teachers and the parents are activating all the time. So we're just going to take a journey to understand how this works, because when this kicks in, what happens, we have cortisol and adrenaline and pupils dilate, and now we're alert. So this is happening all the time. I want you to just follow me. And I want you to notice if your jaw is relaxed. I will tell you the importance of that later. It's a real golden nugget of what we discover in neuroscience for what happens in stress and also subconscious stress. Physically change your body as well. And I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, and then with just 2 fingers, just in the eyebrows, and relaxing the jaw and the shoulder, in through the nose, out through the mouth. and then the side of the eyes. It's on the very bone, on the corner socket of the eyes. And relaxing your jaw and shoulders, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. Underneath the eyes, it's the very top of the cheekbone. You can actually feel the bony ridge, very close to your eyelash. Probably closer to yours than mine. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The next one, you can just use one finger, just underneath your nose, directly underneath your nose, and tap in through your nose and out through your mouth. At the next point, just underneath the chin, the ridge underneath your lip, top of the chin. Relaxing the jaw, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, this next point is really powerful, so it's a good one to know. So it's just below the collarbone, just at the side of the sternum. And we can just carry on tapping. Just here. And so if you just relax the elbows and the shoulders, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. Okay. The last one, when you do this with the children, if they're not already laughing by now, they will do. And you'll think, isn't this supposed to calm them down? They call it the monkey. In through your nose, and out through your mouth. We'll see. I love a challenge. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And I just want you to just relax your hands, maybe palms on the thighs. And I just would invite you to close your eyes just for a few seconds. Just close your eyes. And even from that demonstration, just check in to see how you feel. Physically, emotionally, energetically. And then breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And relax the jaw. Notice how your facial muscles feel. Okay, and then when you're ready, I want you to just open your eyes. Thank you. Okay, so that was tapping. Can you just give me a show of hands if you've ever done tapping before? Okay. Fantastic. So what tapping does, I'm going to go on to a little bit deeper. Come in. Yeah, you can. You just have them. No problem whatsoever. You got one tapping round in. Bonus. What the tapping actually does, and I think in all my years of working in behavior management and using neuro-linguistic programming, working all across the world and also working in extreme traumas and even in trauma zones, this is the quickest way I've found to help the body reduce cortisol, and cortisol being the stress hormone. That's so significant for learning because where's my pen? Cortisol, stress hormone. Because when cortisol is too high and adrenaline, your neocortex, for decision making, for analyzing, for making your right and wrong social decisions, for empathy, understanding how others feel, and also for follow-through. In other words, getting things done, amongst many other things. As cortisol is high, all our other functions reduce, that human side of our function. So this is why it's important for us, first of all, before the children, because we will have, after 24 years old, a fully developed neocortex. Children won't. And also it starts to affect how your limbic system works, your emotional system. So I'm just going to now, because you know the methods, I will say them out, and I want to see what physical and emotional changes we can do. Okay? So, in a second, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. If you need to look and to see which areas we need to tap again, that's fine. But I invite you to close your eyes just for a few seconds, please. And I want you just to check in with your body, maybe any physical tension or pain, any feelings of needing to rush. It's also really natural as we do this, by the way, not just because of my impact, that you might start yawning. And that's absolutely fine. It's an energetic exchange. So notice how you feel. Now I want you to just start tapping on the underside of your hand, and I will call out each spot. And then relax the jaw. So the teeth are separated. The lower and upper jaw are not touching. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And then just move slowly onto the middle of the eyebrows. You can just use 2 fingers. It's entirely up to you. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And then the side of the eyes. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then underneath the eyes. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Underneath the nose. And out. Underneath your lip. And if you feel like yawning, yawn. Out through your mouth. Everybody has a different effect here. And then the top of the chest. Just below the collarbone. In through your nose. Out through your mouth. And then the top of the head, you can use 1 or 2 hands, it's up to you. Relaxing the jaw. And then just yet again, just rest your hands just on your thighs. If you can just keep your eyes closed just for a few more seconds. And now check in, just to see how you feel. Notice any physical changes. You might be able to notice how the mind feels, how the brain feels, how the head feels. Notice your facial muscles. And then, when you're ready, I want you to slowly open your eyes, if that's possible. Now, I think everybody in here is going to be highly empathetic and sensitive. So I want you now just to notice the energy in the room. Very calm. So I use these methods for people in maybe doing... Have you seen the people who surf the waves, the biggest waves in the world? We're talking almost 100-foot, 40-odd meter waves. So we do this as a practice for those people to be ready. I use it with teachers all the time because the children are always going to be so full of energy. And they're, whether it's sadness, happiness, whatever, the whole range. And we also are going to feed off their energy, they feed off ours. I'll come on to that in a second. When we can start to produce this state of calm, which, by the way, after you've done this a few times, you'll achieve this in probably less than 30 seconds. You just do this a few times, and the brain literally starts to change. It starts to rewire. I'll just show you a few, if you can just do the next one. Yeah, that one. So, actually, what we've just done there is desensitize the amygdala, the brain's response to fight or flight. We've just actually told the brain that we didn't need to actually be that high. It wasn't a physical threat. This place today, when I walked in, it's super high energy. It's actually really interesting seeing this compared to all the other what works. Interestingly, for the early years, I've seen the greatest amount of energy and buzz. Very interesting. So we're going to have to react to that. So it desensitizes, and just to say, we're safe. We can be calm, relaxed, and focused. It turns off that amygdala, the switch. It also helps to start rewire your brain. You can now access more areas of the brain. You literally become more intelligent. That's not so bad, is it? It's not so bad. And to a certain level we come down, it's now a perfect space for learning. Perfect space for learning. Because if we need to increase the intensity levels, we can do that easily. And it changes the way the limbic system reacts, so your emotional systems. Changes the way that a situation, somebody may come into the classroom and they're really upset and they're shouting, but your reaction is different. Totally different. I used to spend weeks and do this over a course of a year when I used to teach positive behavior management, mainly through neuro-linguistic programming and body language. What we're able to do now with children within seconds, particularly as they develop the routine, is be in a place for calm and to be able to talk to each other. I'll show you an example of that in a second. Self-awareness changes from the child as well as yourself. You're aware of how you're feeling. You notice other people around you. Literally, the whole body reacts. You're actually now starting to change the way your brain is functioning. If you do this practice along with, let's say, visualization or mindfulness, in 4 days of just 10 to 20 minutes per day, that actually probably less using this, 10 minutes per day, you will start to see the brain rewiring. You'll see greater activity, more neural pathways connecting together. You're becoming more intelligent. You find it easier. Straightforward. Okay. So, I'm going to show you a video in a second. So you're going to have to be able to read. There's some subtitles at the bottom. I just wanted to show you a place of this in action in the schools. I'm going to come back to this slide. And then I'm going to ask you to give me some questions as well.
Okay, bueno, yo he sido de los profesores que mientras no lo veas, no lo sientas, no lo vivas, no lo crees. Cuando empecé con la técnica, empecé un poco desconfiado, hasta que me arriesgué, vale, me arriesgué. Porque tengo la oportunidad de trabajar cerca de 9 años con niños pequeñitos. Empecé difícil que tú consigas la atención de los niños, más de una jornada extendida. Y siempre la disciplina se la manejaba muchas veces por levantar el tono de voz, hacer actividades de juegos, pero en hacer la actividad de juego, a veces se cansaban, ya no querían, no podía sacar 100 juegos para un solo mes. Entonces teníamos que buscar nuevas cosas y ahí llegó el punto en el que se me acabó el repertorio. Dije, vamos con el tapping. Y empezamos con algo así tan bonito, tan sencillo, que es de mantenerle quieto a un niño. Difícil, un niño de 5 años, difícil. Pero honestamente es impresionante, es increíble la forma de controlarse. Bastan 5 minutos y tú consigues una atención de 2 horas de tiempo, tú lo pones. Hemos visto cambios impresionantes en donde lo más importante, se siente identificado, le ponen la intención. Si ya no es del juego, del que ay, yo lo hago así, me caigo, ya no, es algo orientado. Y vemos los beneficios puntuales, no solo conmigo, sino con todos. Y ahí entro a la mañana, ya les dejo listos para que trabajen. A las 10 nuevamente lo hacemos para que trabajen hasta el mediodía. Salen, comen nuevamente para que terminen la jornada. Antes terminaban por tanta actividad física y ya las últimas horas como que no puedo, pero ahora no, es más y más. Y alguien si quiere salir un poquito del punto, a pesar de que ya solito se empieza, a pesar de que estoy un poquito inquieto, me siento muy bien, tranquilo. La última actividad que hicimos fue con el osito, donde el osito es un juguete, aquí siempre ha sido un juguete, ¿no? Como una herramienta terapéutica, porque es difícil que ellos lo conciban así. Pero el osito, hazlo tú con el osito. Y empezaron al principio a jugar, el osito para arriba, para abajo, pero tú no te das ni cuenta el momento en que el osito está al frente y empieza. Yo lo viví, yo lo creí, más dinero es que yo no hay, pero yo lo viví y funciona. O sea, en verdad que funciona y muchas de las personas a veces me decían, loco, decían, no funciona, o sea, en verdad funciona. Y no es que tiene que pasar 5, 6, 7 veces. Cuando tú le pones lo importante, la intención. Sí, o sea, ¿cómo consigues que un niño de 5 años le siga a otro niño de 5 años en cosas que no son del juego? No lo consigues. Tienes que ponerle un balón para que todos vayan a casa. Pero el momento que le ves a un niño haciendo esto, y que le sigan los compañeritos, 18 compañeritos, con un sistema fuerte de trabajo, porque es poco el espacio para jugar aquí. Tranquilos, relajados, que nunca le borran la sonrisa. Y no está por demás el que se botan su broma, se sueltan su chiste, propio de niños, pero con esta técnica tú consigues niños felices, por sobre todo las cosas, tranquilos, que no hace falta que les grites, que digas, siéntate, sino solito. Y esto obviamente tiene más, no es que solamente se queda y se va y se sienta tranquilo, está listo y dispuesto para trabajar, se ha enfocado en algo. No tengo que pasar 20 minutos para que el niño recién se enfoque y yo trabaje al apuro corriendo porque solo tengo 5 de atención. No, son 5 minutos para que se enfoquen y tengo. El tiempo es lo de menos. El tiempo es lo de menos. A raíz de que empiezo yo con esto, digo, bueno, ahora es el momento en que no solamente voy por la inquietud. Okay. Y digo, a ver, a pesar de que no sé tablas de multiplicar.
I'll send you the link for that. So, if you've ever tried to reason with a child when they're feeling maybe a little upset or emotional or just even excited, we don't reason in the same way. They're children. Their brains are different. So, an example, only 2 days ago, so I was working with a young boy with ADHD, and really quite severe. And the parents had really been struggling for interaction at home. So I saw him 2 weeks ago for the first time, introduced myself and just short talks. I just asked him to copy me. Interestingly, he didn't question. He just copied. And then I also said we're going to practice on daddy and these kind of things. I did it on his father before because his father was slightly hyperactive as well. And then, within about 10 minutes, maybe, the boy's calm. And he sat and he talked. Just a normal, like, kind of very calm conversation. And then he got bored and did his other things again, and, you know, it's not going to be there forever. So this time I went in 2 days ago. He'd been asking when I was coming back. So I went in 2 days ago, and within 3 minutes, you can believe this now you've heard me talk. Within 3 minutes, he fell asleep. 3 minutes. Now, as soon as he'd rested, the brain had now gone into homeostasis, the body. You've got equilibrium. At that point, the body's now, it can actually start to enter healing, thriving. But the key isn't really resilience, and neither is, I think we're all very resilient people. I think children are very resilient. Where are the skills of recovery? You would never ask an athlete to run 365 days of the year without taking a rest. Well, the brain's going to constantly work if it's under stress. If they're coming from a home environment that is stressful and their parents are stressed, they're also absorbing that, which you all know this. And then for them to see us, we need to embody that level of calmness, whatever the weather. The beauty of this as well for health and for everybody, when you are highly stressed, when the cortisol levels are high, the stress hormone, particularly chronically over time, your immune system is not working the same. It dampens. It's an evolutionary response to survival. Because, I'm going to save that talk for another time, because I love it. I could go on forever about that. Basically, the immune system doesn't respond the same under stress. And the digestive system, peristalsis, starts to slow down. Doesn't break down the food. You do not assimilate or absorb the nutrients. You can spend as much money as you want on organic foods and also the best supplements. They'll be okay, but they will not be great. And of course, the brain suffers and memory suffers. As adults, we store visceral fat, the internal fat. It does that for fun. And it's the dangerous one, the internal. I could keep on going. It's bad. So when we actually do this simple process, we're looking at cortisol reduction for adults of, if you do it for yourself, 25%. If somebody does it for you, so when I come here, I train various people to do this, and a couple of other methods, which we might be able to get onto. You reduce, and you're healing. Your sleep changes. Most people recognize sleep, the quality of sleep. I'm going to give you, yeah.
Just to inquire, how this is different from hypnosis? And
It
how is it different from brain gym activity?
Yeah, great question. It's the biology of touch, basically. So with
tapping,
yeah.
I mean activity, it differentiates it from brain gym. Brain gym
Yeah.
is a proposal for many schools.
Yeah.
They are using it as a creative management
Yeah.
technique.
Yeah.
Where is the line between both practices and the limitations? Besides the risks, if
Yeah.
they exist.
Yeah. This is different for the biology of touch, and I'll just show you what I mean by that in a second. But what it also does is complement. It creates an environment in the brain for learning. So before you do brain gym, and if you meditate with the kids, if you do any mindfulness, so I work with people who are meditation coaches and consultants, and we do this before and sometimes after, and also lots of people who do yoga are using this. So the difference is this. So I want you to, in a second, you're going to close your eyes, and what I want you to do, you're going to rub palm over palm.
One closing.
Yeah, you can close your eyes and just intuitively notice how this feels. Okay. Then what I want you to do is cross your arms, and it's as though you're just giving yourself, and if you can come up from the shoulders, down to the elbows, and back up again. And this one, normally people giggle or feel very soothed. Some people cry at this point, by the way, as well. And, okay, there's more we can do for that, but I just want you to just relax there. What's happened just at this point now, we've actually started to increase delta waves. Delta waves in the brain, so this is your slowest form of brainwave. And at this point, this is where restoration and recovery, anti-aging takes place. When you wake up from your sleep, if you were like, bing, can you remember those days? You've been in delta wave sleep. So you can do this before. It's great with kids, actually. The speed is frightening. So the biology of touch from this, the tapping, what it does, it quickly dampens the signal from the amygdala. And that's the one that's producing lots of adrenaline and cortisol. So the difference is what it does, it changes the brain from a stress state very quickly into a focus state. So actually then you're ready to learn. So if I think of people who are going to do a big competition, we will do the tapping. And when then, some people, you may I don't know if you're very good at visualizing. So visualization, any kind of key top performer that we work with, they see the events and they're able to visualize and their imagination can increase. But sometimes their stress levels are too high to imagine the great things that they want. So again, we use the tapping. It's basically, it has its own purpose, but it also has a complementary effect to learning. Because if the brain is in a stressed state, so even subconsciously, worrying about the bills, worrying about the exam, worrying about the bully, worrying about mum and dad, worrying about your food, whatever it may be, it's the equivalent of trying to learn. And so, yeah, so it changes the way the brain works into a natural state. Now, if there is a tiger in the room or a bear, you want to have this high state of adrenaline and cortisol. So, yeah, so it works in addition to as well as by itself. With regards to practicalities in a classroom, the teachers just now get used to walking in, and it's the start of the day. And the kids copy it. They don't ask. They generally, to adults, we have to explain, we have to feel it. Children generally just copy. And children work very much on that energetic side. They absorb, because particularly how the brain is also structured from up to 8 years old, how much it absorbs information. The amygdala is also really important. So birth to 8, you can actually be curing trauma without even realizing it. There's a longer talk onto exactly how that changes the neurons. But the amygdala also, when you have a high trauma state and you absorb it, it's stored deep in the limbic system. Now what that means to us is, if you do something that you don't want to do that harms you, or you have something that stresses you and you know you should be able to control it but you can't, that's normally because that part of the brain does not respond to logic, rational thinking, or willpower. And literally the neurons have changed. And the same with phobias as well. The last method that we just used actually changes the neurons, the way your brain reacts to situations. So it's really powerful. Children, as I said, I worked recently with an autistic child, and I teach the family first, and then they're now sitting down, and now they're watching TV as a family, because the effect it also had on other children. They weren't able to give the same time and attention. Lots of guilt started to emerge, stress, and just finishing work. So for such a simple tool, and the beauty is it's natural, it's hardwired from birth. So it kind of can't go wrong. Yeah.
Does it work with KG students?
With?
KG.
Yeah.
Because I'm imagining, for example, one of my students, the one I'm thinking about now, go tapping for another student and then...
What happens...
Does it work with them?
Yeah, it does, because what happens as soon as they actually start doing this, their brain starts to relax. You start to see this development of compassion and understanding, which when you first see this and do it, you have to be confident. You have to know that you've already tried it yourself. So yeah, it does. In fact, if you just do this for a second now. Huh? So one of the questions that always comes out now is, where do we start? How do we do this? You can use any point. Yeah, any of these points. And you can do it for 1 minute. If you do it too long with the children, what can happen? You get to a state, either they just get too tired because they're resting at that point, or of course it can get boring. It can get boring. So you bring them to a stage where you choose for the activity. Okay, are there any more questions related to how you can apply it? Yeah.
Does it have to be quiet, or do you have some music on that?
Okay, perfect. Music for this is even, if you were looking, it depends what you're looking to achieve.
So if you're doing it to try and introduce it as if it's a slow dance movement to get them engaged.
And if you look, so I use music in this way, but what we're going to do, we're going to create our own music. I'll show you how and it also changes how the brain works with the working memory. In other words, if they're stressed about something, this is how you can change it really quickly. What was the song this morning? If you have, really know it. Do you know that one? If you have. So what we're going to do, we're just going to hum that tune together. Hum. You're going to hum with me. As we do it, I'm going to just show you how we're going to change, okay? And I want you to go into this one. Row your boat gently. Chest. And then just relax. And then go back to the, if you're happy and you know it. Okay, so the reason I actually, well done. We actually use that method for helping people with severe post-traumatic stress disorder. When I work with victims of all different types of physical and emotional abuse, helps them, first of all, their attachment to the memory, the problem, and let's look at it on a different scale. If a child has just been bullied, or they've been very upset, somebody hurt them, or they fell over, first of all, they are in a high trauma state, and their working memory is fixated on the problem. And because it's so high, they're not able to really compute or feel soothed. So actually by tapping, and this is called havening, this was created by two neuroscientists in New York, the Rudin brothers. And it actually, so you can have one piece of information in the working memory, the stress. And then we start to hum, so phonology. We hum, we count, we can even picture and talk about something, we can sing. And at the same time, we're changing the chemistry of the brain. So now when you come on to working with the bullying situation, you'll find they're able to start processing and talk. And I do this when I led counter-bullying for many years, programs of how we counsel proactively, reactively, and then post, how we train and work with the children. I used to spend at least 40 minutes to 1 hour with children straight after a bullying incident. And counsel, we would talk, and then we'd eventually get the children together with other skilled people within the school, and things would be sorted. And the incidents of bullying, then the repeat rates were about 5%. So it was 95% of the bullying from the same people were eliminated. That took us a long time. Now, we're just talking about it. We're helping them calm down to that state they can be a little bit more rational and logical. And sometimes, as you're going to know with children, particularly very early years, they're not going to tell you so much about their emotion and be able to. So it can be a case of, where do you feel that in your body when you feel like this? I feel it in my tummy. Okay. Even though I feel this in my tummy. And there's so many different ways you can do it. In other words, they find themselves. The brain just starts to act more normally. Yeah. So you can use the music in many different ways, and if you. Yeah, definitely. In fact, Stephanie's just been on one of the courses at KHDA when I work with the Positive Mindset Ambassadors, and we include music, and it's a 4-minute piece of music. And we do the tapping and the havening, and what's the results with the music in 4 minutes?
Very calming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very sort of rejuvenating as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of start your day off thinking,
Yeah.
I've got all of these, emails to answer, I've got all of these meetings to go to. I don't know where to start. It's often my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But that just sort of really brings you down to a focused state.
And it really does start with you, though. So actually, I'm not going into every single classroom in the lands, even though that's what I'm burning to do, because I know unless we embody that ourselves, there's no point. There's no point. So to embody it yourselves, and you start to see these changes. You can take this to as many levels as you want personally, dealing with all past stuff, and then get into the feeling present, get into the future, planning what you'd like to do. So children, they just take it on really quickly. As long as you can do it and you feel the difference, they will. There's one other reason why this will work naturally if you do that. Can you just go to the end? Just that one. Then let me just switch this light off. I just want you to look. What does this little girl make you feel? Okay. This one's a real pull on the heartstrings, this one. It's interesting. I could look at this one. And this girl here. And then the next one, please. Oh. Do you want to go and would you like to go and cuddle this lion? And most people nod yes. Well, I wouldn't if I was you. So what's actually happened here, and this is why it's important for yourself and for children, particularly not just as leaders, but also to understand why children react, because a lot of the time it can be us, is the mirror neuron. So I'm not sure if you've heard of this. There's a part of your brain that's specifically dedicated to facial recognition and also body language. So even if I'm smiling and everything's fine, it's not, is it, clearly? I don't know if you've ever spoken to anybody, and I've been guilty of this before, don't worry. And in 30 seconds, they've talked to you, they've left, and you're like, oh my goodness, that was draining. It's like 30 seconds. How is this person superhuman? And also, you can speak to somebody just for a few seconds and you're uplifted. You feel great. And what this is also useful for us, when I was 33 years old, I was very fit. I was originally a PE teacher, resting pulse of 45 beats per minute, which is like Olympic standard fitness. I had a major heart attack. Still to today, it's not been, it's fixing itself naturally, but a major heart attack. Why? And as I look back and I study now, I'm 41 by the way, now, 42 next week if there's anybody who wants to send me any cards, that people would see me as the happy-go-lucky guy and getting stuck in, getting things done. I was absorbing everybody's problems. The go-to guy, get things done, as we all are as teachers, as well as if you're also the person in the school. And then you might have a family as well and friends. And you feel that this level of tension, this level of stress, it's normal. This is what it needs to get done, and we tough it out. We don't need to. Actually, your cortisol levels are probably going sky high, your blood pressure, the body starts to eat itself, actually. It even eats away from your muscles. It takes from the protein in the muscle, it breaks it back down to amino acids, which building block of, if anybody's ever had IBS or autoimmune disorders, so your internal line, your secretory IgA, your internal lining of your gut, under those levels of stress, it gets eaten away. So actually the food particles can start to enter your bloodstream before being digested. There's real effects. I mean, it makes such a difference. So we should, when you did this test at the beginning, I said, how do you feel? And you had seen the different levels probably become more relaxed. Well, it's start to find out what is your neutral, what is your relaxed, what is the one when you need to be a little bit more up and get on going, maybe a project or getting the kids a bit more uplifted. Start to work that out. It'll 0 to 10, and you'll transform your health. So, and also with the mirror neurons, for looking after yourself, this can be a problem for us, which is, so empathy is literally how we feel when we see a situation or a person. And bizarrely, this can be a killer. Sounds quite a bold statement. Because you're feeling and you're absorbing. If you can't tap in front of people, there's many other methods. Just to be mindful, and this is the one real big tip I want to give you, is see what your jaw is doing. And I'm going to show you now why that's important for empathy and compassion. So I want you to just open the mouth, sitting in a neutral position, so the teeth are not touching, and hands just relaxed, facial muscles relaxed, and your job is to keep the jaw open. Try to feel frustrated and angry while you're opening your mouth and relaxing. Relax the face. It's like Scooby-Doo. Doesn't quite catch. Because physiologically, we need to have the jaw tensioned. Now, you check yourself during the day. You'll notice when other people do it as well now. How many times does that happen? And I want you to also have a look around to see Where's the threat? There's another thing it does. In fact, can all just stand up just for 30 seconds, please? So, under this level of stress, subconsciously or consciously, the jaw tightens. And also the glutes, your buttocks, tighten. So now what I want you to do is tense the jaw, tense the buttocks, tense your hands. Now relax your jaw. Now you try to hold on to that. You're like, well, that's quite... Then relax your hands and your glutes. You need to check this as well when you're sitting down. The amount of back problems that are going to cause from this. So as soon as the jaw is relaxed, everything else falls back in place. Now, because you will be very good at putting on an amazing front, how is everything? It's great, I'm fantastic. Then check your glutes as well. And it's at that chain. Then the adrenaline, the cortisol reduce, and you're back in the room. And you can sit down. Thank you. Great.
Actually, in my classroom, this is what I do. I tell them, do like this. So they all do like this. Now relax. And this is how we take the tension off.
It's good. Yeah. It's good.
It worked.
So because I said you need to finish more calm than when you came in, I know I've just got you hyped up, you're going to have to do this for me just for a second. Just to humour me. And breathe in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And if you just close your eyes just for a few more seconds. You can even notice if you rub palm over palm. It's entirely up to you. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. You'll notice a different feeling between the two. You can use all of them. They do slightly different things. And as you do this, you're able to move from empathy, even the feeling of me jumping around, to compassion. So compassion is the move where we understand what's happening, we're not having to feel it and absorb it. And it puts us in a better position to actually deal with matters at hand, to be more of ourselves, an adult and professional. So as you can see, it has many different ways we could have taken this, and it always goes different ways. So if you, can you just go on to this? If you, the next one as well, and the next one. Okay, so it's the world's second largest business card. But if you want any information, I'll send you all the different types of links that I have to this. And really that main message being how quickly you can change a physical and emotional state. We're hardwired to do it. And if you need any information on that, then just please let me know. I'll be around for a while after if anybody's got any questions. Okay, thank you very much.